Resident Evil 9 is officially announced and has an official title, Resident Evil Requiem. See, a 9 looks like a lowercase q, so it had to be that or Resident Evil Requirement, which doesn't have the same ring to it. The same announcement that gave us the name also gave us about 3 minutes of reveal trailer, which, while heavy on atmosphere, was lighter on actual details about the gameplay. But there was still a lot of info there for those who know their Resident Evil lore, so let's talk about it. First up, we have a new character, presumably a protagonist, an FBI agent investigating a series of deaths linked to an unidentified disease who goes by the name of
Grace Ashcroft.
Yes?
And who has a desk that would make Agent Mulder decide it was time for a bit of a tidy-up. The name Ashcroft might be familiar to long-time Resident Evil fans, and no, it's not the name of the weirdo twins from Resident Evil Code Veronica. That was Ash Ford, Alfred and Alexia Ashford.
The Ashford family is among the world's first and finest. My grandfather is one of the original founders of Umbrella Inc.
Was Capcom getting all their names at the time from the first page of the phone book? We can only assume. Actually, the name Ashcroft comes from Alyssa Ashcroft, who is one of the 8 playable characters in 2003's Resident Evil Outbreak.
Apparently the game was interrupted when an unruly fan got out of control and sparked a riot.
Resident Evil Outbreak is on the more obscure side as Resident Evil games go, given that it was a co-op-centric online game released in an era before online console gaming was widespread, or even possible in a lot of places.
Alyssa.
Good.
Alyssa!
Alyssa.
Good.
Still, Outbreak had its charms, and Alyssa was a fun character. She was a reporter for Raccoon City newspaper The Raccoon Press, sporty, handy in a fight, and a master of unlocking. Guess Jill didn't have the monopoly on it. Until the Resident Evil 9 reveal, Alyssa was the only survivor from Resident Evil Outbreak left canonically alive in the Resident Evil timeline. As evidenced in Resident Evil 7, where a newspaper article from the Dolby Daily, written by Alyssa Ashcroft, reported the mysterious disappearances caused by the Baker family. Now, however, we learn that Alyssa was murdered 8 years prior to the events of Resident Evil Requiem while investigating the Wrenwood Hotel, the same hotel Grace, who we learn is Alyssa's daughter, is being sent to investigate.
The Wrenwood Hotel. I know that's where your mother was murdered. Alyssa died 8 years ago. Perhaps it's time for you to face the past.
Alyssa's news report from Resident Evil 7 was canonically written in 2016, so Requiem must be set in 2024 at the earliest. Although our money would be on it taking place a few years after that to coincide with the year the game is actually coming out, which is to say, 2026. That puts the events of Resident Evil Requiem 28 years after the bombing of Raccoon City, which took place in 1998 at the end of Resident Evil 3. Here's Jill Valentine escaping by helicopter.
It's the end.
In fact, we saw that same annihilation of Raccoon City at the end of Resident Evil Outbreak. Here's Alyssa Ashcroft also escaping by helicopter.
Just thinking about the column I have to write. I'm getting a headache.
Are you all right? Take this.
Thanks, but I'll pass.
Officially, the US government bombed Raccoon City with a thermobaric bomb, not a nuclear weapon, so you wouldn't expect an irradiated wasteland or radioactive zombies. Probably just as well. That city's got enough problems. From the Resident Evil Requiem trailer, though, we expect the game to take place in both the old-timey, dilapidated Wrenwood Hotel and in Raccoon City. Imagine visiting the ruins of Resident Evil 2's iconic Raccoon City Police Department after the bombing. Yes, please. And are the Umbrella Labs underneath the city still intact? I guess we'll find out. The state of the city in the trailer and the gigantic crater suggests that either 1, they never rebuilt the city and you're here 28 years later, or 2, you visit the city not long after the bomb hit, perhaps in a flashback, perhaps as Alyssa Ashcroft herself. As for the multiple voices montaged in the trailer, it's hard to identify them, though if we close our eyes and wish, we can sort of imagine Leon.
Investigating all these strange deaths, huh?
And maybe Jill.
We need to keep our voices down.
And maybe Chris Redfield. Or possibly Carlos Oliveira. These days they're voiced by the same actor, so who can say?
Have you seen the same shit I've seen?
What we can say is we wouldn't be surprised if Grace isn't the only playable character in the game, nor would we be surprised if one or more of the OG Resident Evil crew turned up in a playable or cameo role, like Chris in Resident Evil 7.
I'm Redfield. I'm glad we found you.
Or Chris in Resident Evil Village.
I guess I owe you an explanation.
He gets around these days. The Wrenwood Hotel, meanwhile, looks like another classic Resident Evil haunted house type location in the making. It's got bad vibes for days, spooky billowing curtains, and apparently apparatus for suspending guests upside down.
Hey!
Can you do negative star reviews on TripAdvisor? At the Wrenwood, we find this sinister guy hanging out wearing a snakeskin coat. Who is he? Anyone we know? A pre-existing series villain?
I know now that you're the one that I've been searching for. The special one. The chosen one. Miss Ashcroft.
To be honest, the only game character I associate with a snakeskin coat is Goro Majima off of Yakuza, and I'm pretty sure we can rule him out, right? Right? Unless perma-blonde Albert Wesker or the Mr. Burns-looking Oswell E. Spencer have had a substantial makeover, we could well be looking at an original bad guy here. But if the unidentified killer disease Grace is investigating isn't some novel variant of the good old T virus, I'll eat my hat. We've had T, C, and G viruses, so the rest of the alphabet is wide open. Take your pick. One thing we do know for sure about Resident Evil Requiem is that it is coming out on the 27th of February 2026, so plenty of time for wild speculation until then. What do you think will be in the game? Who do you think we will see? Who do you think the villain is? Where do you think it's set? Who do you think is going to be the main character? Put it in the comments below. Tell us your wildest, most out there theories about Resident Evil Requiem, and we will be back with more Resident Evil Requiem very soon. If you want to watch more videos from us, we have played all the Resident Evils pretty much. We've played through Resident Evil 7, we've played through Resident Evil Village. I did a Resident Evil remake drinking game, which you can drink along with at home if that's your bag. Do like and subscribe to keep up to date when we talk more about Resident Evil Requiem, and we will see you next time on Outside Xbox.